Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's DAF Hayemi, Bava Kamma DAF Kuf Zayin. We are holding on Kuf Vav Amud Beis, 3 lines off the bottom. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda like this: Hatoyin Tanas Ganav B'Pikadin, which is a shemer, right? A fellow who is entrusted with an item. The owner comes back to claim his item. The shemer responds, well, it was stolen. It turns out that he himself pocketed the item. We learned yesterday, if he made a shvuah, if he made an oath to substantiate his claim, and it turns out that he himself stole the item, the Aiden came and testified against him, he now turns it to the Ganav. He changes status from a shemer to a Ganav, and he pays the double payment, the kefil. But says Rabbi Yehuda, that only works provided we meet certain criteria. He's only liable to swear and subsequently to pay the kefil if caught red-handed until we have. It only works unless we have 3 sections here, 3 sort of, his response is spliced into 3 parts. Firstly, he denied even having part of the pikadon. He gave me $30? No, it was only 20. So he's kaifer b'miktzas, v'yayid b'miktzas, and he fully admits that he gave him, the other part. And here, take it, $10 right here. And in the 3rd section, he says it was stolen. So 10 never came. 10 is right here. 10 is stolen. So in this case, he's chayiv shvuah. In this case, if it turns out that he stole the $10, then he has to pay kefil. My time. Why is this necessary? The Amakra, the pasuk says so. Ki huzeh. The shemer responds by saying, Ki huzeh. No, it's not this large amount. It's just this right here. And then he proceeds to claim that part of it was stolen. So clearly the pasuk is teaching us that all these elements are required. Says the Gemara, Pliga de Rabbi Chia bar Yosef, but this is in disagreement with the other shita. The Amar Chia bar Yosef, no. Hiruv Parshis, Kasav Khan. This pasuk of Ki Huzeh really doesn't belong here. It belongs in the other parsha with the fellow who borrowed money, and after being confronted, he went ahead and he was moide b'miktzas. He admitted to only borrowing part of the money. So over there we have a special halacha, right? That a moide b'miktzas has to swear. That's unrelated to the shemer. A shemer has to swear in any case, even without this sort of moide b'miktzas arrangement. Right? The pasuk of ki huzeh, which indicates partial admission and partial denial. Al milva l'ksiv, it's going on a borrower. U'mayshna milva. Now, why do we do this? Why do we sort of uproot the pasuk from here, from shemer, and bring it over to the case of the milva? Meaning, in what way is a milva different than pikadon? In both he owes him money. In both he's denying. So why is it that only by the milva, if there's full denial, do we say he doesn't have to swear? The only time he does have to swear, the only thing that triggers a shvuah is a moed b'miktzas. Can we explain it? Says the Gemara, sure. We have a full, rationale here that presents itself by the milva, by the borrower, and explains very thoroughly why, indeed, it's only the moed b'miktzas which triggers this liability, which trips him up, basically, sends us sort of messages that he's in the wrong, right? It makes us sort of suspicious of the validity of his claim, and therefore over there he makes a shvuah, and that doesn't apply by pikadon. By pikadon you always have to make a shvuah. Let's see. Kedei Rabba, Damar Rabba. I have a question. Why is it so that a moed b'miktzas, a borrower who admits partially to the claim, has to make a shvuah? Why? Why is it that the Torah says moed b'miktzas hatana yishava, if he admits to part of the claim, he has to make a shvuah? You see, really, he should be in the right when he totally denies. When he's a moed b'miktzas. You know why? Because if he's really lying, he's really pretending, he could have gotten away with a much bigger denial. He could have said, nothing doing. The money? You never gave me any money. And the halacha there is that he's totally pater. You can't hold him accountable. He totally denies the whole episode. So basically, he always has that card in his pocket that's called migu, since. Today he admitted to part, but you know what? If I was really a liar, I could have lied much better. I could have denied the entire loan that had ever occurred. So why don't we apply that rationale? Why doesn't that give him credibility? The answer is like this. It's very difficult for him to totally deny a favor that somebody did for him. To totally be kaifer bakoil. Chazaka. It's assumed that ain't other meiz panav. A person doesn't have the heart, doesn't have the brazenness to totally conflict, to totally deny his Baal Choiv, who lent him money. So that option is not really realistic. He wouldn't really come to the point of totally denying. So really, he would like to deny the whole thing, but he can't. Poor guy can't. It's just against his nature. The reason why he didn't fully deny it, mishum de'ein adam is panav, right? Okay. So now the question is like this. Fine, you can't give him credibility. He's not doing us much favor here by admitting he has no choice. He's compelled. He feels he has to do it. But at the same time, you have a kasha. How could we now even impose a shvuah on him to substantiate his claim? Because if we now suspect that he's being untruthful, right? After all, that's why we're coming down on him, because we're concerned that perhaps he really owes the entire amount. So how can we even give him a shvuah to do? Because he's now a chashud. You're suspecting that he's lying. So why would he swear honestly? So the answer is like this. Really, in his position, he really doesn't have the heart to deny. He really wants to admit the whole thing. He has no kavanah to really steal. He's an honest fellow. But the poor fellow has no money. The reason why he's presenting this front of a partial denial, so he figures like this. Let me. It's a delay tactic. He's just procrastinating. It's a way to sort of, extend his loan. Savar he figures like this. If I fully admit to the whole $1 million, he's going to come running tomorrow to collect the money. So therefore, let me just sort of like wiggle out, Mia at least hashta now. Let me sort of, at least partially wiggle out. Until I get a hold of money, I'll fully repay the loan. So his kavan, his intention isn't really to steal, it's just to sort of delay things. That explains why the Torah imposes a shvuah on him, put him against the wall, pressure him, to force him to fully admit and pay up. So that's the sort of rationale behind the idea of a moed b'miktzas hatana yishava. But that's only by a baror. So explains the Gemara. Right, let's go back. Why did we say that the concept of moed b'miktzas is only applicable to a milva, but not by a shomer? Over there, it's different. You know why? Only by the loiva, by the borrower, can we apply this svara that if he's just if he has a hard time, denying the whole thing, and in fact, if he's in total denial, then chances are he doesn't really owe the money, because if he really borrowed, he wouldn't bring himself to totally deny it, right? That's the svara. But a person who was entrusted with an item is a shomer. You didn't do me any favors, I did you a favor, right? I was washing your thing. So there, we don't have this svara. Meiz or meiz. So there's no problem, totally denying the whole thing if he chooses to, right? If he's dishonest, right? He can easily bring himself to do that. So even if he's in total denial, which is called kaifer hakoil, we have no raya that in fact his position is emes, that he's saying the truth. And therefore, we don't differentiate whether he's a Moedim Miktsas or Keifer HaKoil. You have to go and put him to the test, impose a Shvuah on him, and verify the truth. Okay, so we have this machlokes, whether in order to compel a shomer to swear, is it in all cases, or is it dafka in a case where he sort of put himself on shaky ground? I admit the part, I deny, but okay, we see something's brewing, and then we impose a shvuah. So that's the machlokes we just had. Tani, Rabbi Bar Kamma, so he as well holds that a shomer is only required to swear if he sort of arouses our suspicions by doing this Moedim Miktsas presentation. Arba Shaimin, all four types of watchmen, Srichen, Kfira b'Miktsas, Voida b'Miktsas, before we impose a Shvuah, they need to first deny part and admit a part, which sort of arouses our suspicion in terms of their credibility. So it applies to all four Shaimrim, the guy who did it for free, the guy who took a fee, etc. Ve'eluhein Hashem Rachinam, he watching for free of charge. V'ashoyel, a borrower, and I said sachar, a person who's getting paid for watching. V'haseicher, and the renter. Amar Rava, my time, why? My time, the Ram Bar Kamma, that all four Shaimrim have this idea. So he says like this: Shem Chinam, well, behedik sibei kiyuzeh, the pasuk kiyuzeh, which is the point of our sugya, is actually mentioned by Shem Chinam, pretty clear. That he needs a Moedim Miktsas. Shem Sachar, okay, Yolaf Nesina Nesinim, Shem Chinam, we learn by way of Gzeir Shava, because it says the Lashon Nesina in both places, we connect it, and we draw one from the other. So Shem Sachar as well needs a Moedim Miktsas. Shoyel, what about a borrower? V'chi Yishal, the Vav, which prefaces the parish of the Shoyel, makes that connection to the former discussion. Vav Moisif, it makes that connection al Inyan Rishon, that just like in the Shem Sachar, this is required, so it's also a required precondition by the Shoyel as well. What about a Seicher, a renter? Well, it depends. Ilman de Amar Kishem Sachar. So we have a machlekes. What status a Seicher has? Does he have the obligations of a Shem Sachar? Okay, then Hainu Shem Sachar, we treat him as a Shem Sachar, who already has this requirement of Moedim Miktsas. If he has a status like a Shem Chinam, okay, Hainu Shem Chinam, so then he has equal status to Shem Chinam. Now we have several opinions coming up regarding when do we say that a shomer who was Toyin Tanas Ganav, who pretended the item was stolen, he himself stole it, and then it triggers that kefil. When does it apply? When does it not apply? V'amar Chibrar Yosef, HaToyin Tanas Ganav Bikodoy, right? Ein chayiv at sheyishlach bayad. Interesting point. He's only chayiv if he actually used the item. The Edom saw him use the card before he made this shvuah. That triggers the process of Toyin Tanas Ganav. So, in addition to sort of pretending and making up stories, he himself actually used it. That makes him the Ganav, that makes that change of status, and he has to pay kefil. My time, how do we know this is required? The pasuk says so. V'nikra balabayis like him. So the balabayis goes to the bezdin, and the shomer has to swear that he didn't actually do shlichus yad, he didn't reach out and use the item. And then we have the whole story of the Toyin Tanas Ganav, right? Mechlal, apparently, the ish shalach bayad mechayiv. Apparently, shlichus yad, usage of the item, unauthorized hishtamshus, is what triggers further liability of Toyin Tanas Ganav. L'meimer the b'shalach bayad askinam. Amalu Rab Chia bar Abba. So he responded. Hachi Rabbi Yechon. Actually, Rabbi Yechon said, "B'medes alei busa shanu." That a Toyin Tanas Ganav is speaking where the animal is still standing alei busa near the trough, the eating trough, without the shomer having touched it. So now we're not clear what he meant. What did Rabbi Yechon mean? Only then? Only an untouched, unused animal? Or even then? DAF he means only if the animal was not touched by the shomer. But if he would have used it, then it becomes his, it becomes a gazlan. Right? And therefore, once he's sort of changed status from a shomer to a gazlan, it's a change of status. So now he's no longer chayiv a shvuah. Meaning the shvuah doesn't help him. The shvuah doesn't Doesn't work to his detriment, because a shvuas hashomerin is specific to a shomer. He's no longer a shomer. So it can't trigger the whole process of tayin tanas ganav, which results in kefil. That's one way to look at it. The shlichus yad actually disrupts the process. Or perhaps he meant, even if the animal is just sitting benign, untouched, then we say that the shomer, if he claims that it was stolen and etc., he pays the kefil. So even then, but of course, if he was shleich bayad, of course that's more reason to trigger this process, because the pasuk mentions shlichus yad. So what do you mean? Whether it yesh shlichus yad or no shlichus yad is chayva only with the shlichus yad. Amar leis, he said, Rabbi Yehuda told Rabbi Zeir lo shamati. Actually, this point I haven't heard clearly, from Rabbi Yehuda. But kayetze ba shamati, a similar halacha I did hear from Rabbi Yehuda, and perhaps we can, a different story. Shema presents a story that it was lost, not that it was stolen, that it was lost. V'nishba, he swore as such. Okay, so he sort of substantiated the lost, claim. V'chazer v'tan tanas ganav. Then he turns around and he says, no, actually, I'll tell you the truth, it was stolen. V'nishba, and then he swore on that as well. Ubo Edom, now Edom come and prove him wrong on both accounts. You yourself stole it. Does he pay kefil? No, he's patur. You know why? My time. Huh? So now that's Rabbi Yechon's halacha. Why? Let's investigate. Lav mishum dekana b'shvur rishayna. Apparently, it's because once he made that first shvur on his first claim, after claiming that it was lost, that shvur, which was false, of course, gives it to him. Basically, he becomes a ganav and is fully responsible for the item. So clearly, we see that once he has that change of status, he turns from a trusted shomer to a ganav, it sort of halts the process. He's no longer a shomer, and therefore, any further discussion is not pertaining to shmira, to the shmira world. In which case, you can't become a toyin tanas ganav with kefil. So likewise, says the Gemara over here by the sheleach yad, right? Suppose he used the item. That also gives him that kinyan einsin. He's fully chayif. Any accidents, he's a ganav. He's now been changed from a shemer to a ganav, and therefore it's probable that according to Rabbi Yehuda, who espouses this view, you can't continue down that road of shemer anymore, and therefore any further discussion, any further shvur would not trigger toyin tanas ganav repercussions. Omar Leisi says, no, actually no. So Rabbi Zeir responded, no, that's not the reason. It's not as you said, because the first shvur makes into a ganav. No. Loi hoyel v'yatzi they balim b'shvur rishon. When he claimed lost and he made a shvur, his yatzi they balim, which means he fulfilled his legal obligations to the owner, and he's sort of done. Case closed. So now, any further discussion, any further claims, right? Even though he turned around and said, "Oh, sorry, it was stolen. I'm swearing," it's sort of redundant. He's already out of court. The Baalim had to rest his claim. It's over. So any further discussion, any subsequent shvur doesn't have that legal value, doesn't have legal weight anymore. And therefore it does not trigger the toyin tanas ganav and kefil results. But let's say there was no shvur number one that preceded shvur number two. Rather, he was just shelech bayad. It was unauthorized use of the item. He used it without permission. So perhaps there he hasn't really absolved himself or rested his case. So there, perhaps continuing and saying it was nignav and then swearing as such, which turned out to be false, perhaps that would trigger kefil on account of the ganav. Okay, Itmar Nami. So we even have a raya to this approach. Omar Rabbi Yehuda. So once again we quote Rabbi Yehuda, "Hatoyin tanas aveda b'pikada v'nishba." The Shema claims that it was lost, and he made a shvua, v'chazer v'tan tanas gneva v'nishba, and turns around and says, no, it was stolen, and he makes a shvua. Boy, it made him show up that he stole it. Does he pay kefil? No, patur. You know why? Because of the reason that we just said. Patur hoyel v'yatzi, they baal him b'shvua rishayna, because that first shvua absolved him. It laid the case to rest. No more claim. He's no more liable, so anything that happens after that first shvua has no legal meaning. Amar Rav Sheshes. We have another opinion regarding when we apply the concept of Toyin Tanas Ganav. Ha-Toyin Tanas Ganav Pikadin, okay, a shomer pretended his item was stolen. Kivish Sholach Bayad Pater. So if he did Shlichus Yad, if he used the item before having presented his claim, he's Pater from Kefil. So he's going the other way. Right? Shlichus Yad acts to his detriment. Right? Perhaps because it turns him into a Gazlan and he's no more a Shomer, like we said before. My time, okay, it's based on a pasuk. The pasuk reads like this: so the Shomer has to swear, right, that he didn't use the item, and then the pasuk continues that if he pretended that it was stolen, it turns out that he stole it, he has to pay double. So we learned that it only applies if he did not tamper with the item. But if he did so, and then made the shvua, he's potter. So bottom line is we have three opinions regarding a shomer who's Toyin Tanas Ganav. According to one opinion, Rav Chia Bar Yosef, he's only chayiv if he did shlichus yad. So shlichus yad combined with that false presentation, that gets him to the point of kefil. According to Rav Chia Bar Abba, in the name of Rav Yechanan, he's chayiv regardless of whether he did shlichus yad or not. According to Rav Sheshes, he's only chayiv if he did not do shlichus yad. But if his Toyin Tanas Ganav was preceded by unauthorized use of the item, he's potter. Amalei Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman responds to Rav Sheshes. How can you say this? We all know that the owner of the item will now impose 3 shvois on the shomer, who is the Toyin Tanas Ganav. That's the halach. The Bezdin triggers 3 shvois. First of all, shvo shalei pashati. I swear that I wasn't careless. My carelessness was not, the cause of the geneva. Shalei pashati ba. Number 2, shvo shalei shalachta bayad. I didn't use it. Shvo she'ena b'reshusei. I swear that it's not by me. Rather, it was stolen. Right? And that, exempts the shomer. So we have the 3 shvuos as one package. My lab. So let's assume that we sort of equate them. Shvuo shalach bayad, the shvuo that I didn't use it is dumya, is similar in nature. The shvuo she'enu b'reshusei, the shvuo where he claims that he doesn't have it. Rather, it was stolen, right? We sort of draw a parallel. We'll say like this: Ma shvuo she'enu b'reshusei, just like that last shvuo. Ki miglayim most of these are b'reshusei chayiv. If it turns out that he has it, of course he has to pay. Not only does he have to pay kefil, right? So let's assume, likewise, the shvuah where he presents that he didn't use it, that he didn't tamper with it, if it turns out that he did use it, he's still chayiv. Not like Rav Sheshes, who says that if he uses it, it absolves him from the kefil of the, right? Armalei, he responded, Rav Sheshes says no. Let's make a different type of equation. Shalachta b'yad is similar to the shvuah where he says, I was not pesheya. Ma shvuah shloi pashati ba. Just like in that case, where he swears that he was not careless. Ki megali mus l'pasha b'poter mikefel. If it turns out that he was pesheya, right? He was careless, he left the door open, that caused it to be stolen. Poter mikefel. The shomer doesn't have to pay kefil because he himself didn't steal it. He was careless. He has to pay keren, but not kefil. Says Rav Sheshes, likewise, shvuah shaloi shalachta bayad. The shvuah where he swears that he hadn't used the item has a similar effect. Ki megali mosa shalach bayad poter mikefil. If it turns out that he did use it prior to this shvuah ceremony, then it turns him into a ganav, and like we said, he loses the shomer status, and therefore anything that happens afterwards doesn't have an effect, meaning he will not have the status of a Toyin Tanas Ganav. Rather, he'll just owe the actual item, but without the double payment, kefil penalty. Okay, so in summary, we discussed primarily the idea of a Toyin Tanas Ganav, We had a three-way machlekes whether or not you need to have shlichus yad. We also discussed the idea of moed b'miktzas. According to some, moed b'miktzas applies not only by a malva but also by a shomer. According to the other opinion, it's specific to milva, as we explained the name of Rabbah. All the best to you and Hatzlacha, Rabbah.